Welcome to another free training. So, today is going to be one of my favorite topics besides the dark feminine. So, the dark masculine energy, aka BDE, right? I love talking about the dark masculine because I feel like there's a lack of dark masculine role models within our society. A lot of what we see is actually the wounded masculine, and we're really going to go into details today and really talk about the traits and what the true dark masculine energy is, right? There's a lot of distortions. Yeah, and I feel like also the algorithm really pushes this wounded masculine energy for society's own agenda, right? To really create this disconnection between the heart, between the source. So, the first thing I want to share is the difference between the dark masculine and the light masculine. I feel like I'm seeing more and more light masculine role models on social media. So we're seeing them more and more, men that are in conscious relationships, in marriages. And so I feel like, yeah, that there's a lack of dark masculine energy for sure. And so the light masculine is all about everything that is high, the upper chakras. So a lot of times when we go on YouTube and we see all these men that are really into meditation, that's what they embody. They embody the light masculine energy. So anything that's related to ascension, consciousness, presence, masculinity, everything that is linear, clear, everything that's about transcendence, multidimensionality. That's a hard one when you're French. Everything that's related to the soul, right? The higher self. And so when we see these types of videos, this is the archetype, this is the energy that these men are embodying. The problem is when you're going through a spiritual awakening and you're going through a dark night of the soul, everybody knows this, like your chakra system gets healed and balanced from the root up. So the problem, like one of the spiritual trap, is that a lot of men are just going into these practices where they go through these, dark night of the soul, these spiritual awakenings, and then they straight up open their third eye. They go straight up into meditation, and that usually creates a lot of spiritual psychosis. I see a lot of men getting stuck in these loops of feeling trapped or feeling stuck. You know what I mean? Not being able to move forward. I've talked to a lot of men that have been really stuck within the spiritual community for the past decade, and they really haven't seen results. And it's incredibly frustrating. And then usually that's when people give up, or they just don't evolve, or they run towards, being a Christian because they think, Lord is the savior and whatever, people want to do. But most of the time people just get stuck and they don't evolve, and they just don't get to see the results and the abundance that they truly desire. So the dark masculine really embodies everything that's related to the deep, right? Everything that's related to the lower chakras, about, descending to these lower chakras centers. It's related to the primal, raw, erotic energy. And when we talk about this erotic energy, we're talking about the life force, creation, source energy. And a lot of people are probably like, what do you mean? like, we are created because a man and a woman had sex. This is how you create a human, okay? So we are born through this alchemy of sexual energy. This is how we are created. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this primal, raw, erotic energy. It's usually connected to the more feminine aspect of the man, like the lunar aspect of the man. Actually, I'm gonna do a free training about Jesus. I need to talk about Yeshua and how he was really connected to the moon. And that was actually what he was, I don't like the word preaching, but that's about, the teachings he was sharing. So everything that's related to the non-linear mystery, matter, blood, bones, void, shadow self. And most people are stuck within the first phase of healing, which is denial. So most men, are really disconnected from their heart, their emotions. They usually feel disgusted by menstrual blood. That's also another programming. There's a lot of programmings actually. I'm not gonna get into these today, but yeah, that's the aspect of the man that I would say most men fear. And obviously, if a man fears his own dark masculine, he's gonna fear the dark feminine. He's gonna be repelled by her. All right. So what's the difference between the wounded and the divine masculine? Okay, because I see a lot of these, I would say, dark masculine archetypes online, but it's the wounded aspect of it. And the wounded aspect of the dark masculine is really simple. It's usually related to the hustle culture. If I can just describe it very quickly, everything that's related to, being in your ego, using your money to manipulate or have some power, like power trip over people, that's the wounded masculine, because the wounded masculine subconsciously feel very disempowered. He feels like he has no control over himself. So obviously he's going to try to control women, especially, but he's just going to try to control others. When we look at the corporate world, this is like the embodiment of the wounded masculine energy, right? It's like you work the same amount of time every single day, 9 to 5. You don't complain. You don't have emotions. Go, go, go until you fucking die. And then you get replaced by someone else the next day. I've seen it. I'm not making this up. All right, so the wounded masculine energy is about, it's usually when a man feels lost, he has no overview. He can be dramatic. He doesn't have emotional mastery, emotional control, so he's going to have these like outbursts of anger. It's usually a man that's very passive. He's gonna go with the flow. That's the things he's gonna say. And by the way, I'm not shaming. I'm just describing what the wounded masculine energy is, by the way. And obviously, I'm gonna show the path to healing this. Like, I'm not just gonna say this and then move on, okay? It's also a man that's usually, not always, obviously, but this is a trait of the wounded masculine where he can be violent, controlling, a perfectionist, disempowered, or giving power away to something outside of himself. So a job, for example, the fear of the unknown. He doesn't feel held. He has a lack of awareness. Obviously, you can have some of the traits or all of them. It depends, but it's not like, oh, you don't need to have all the traits basically to be operating in your wounded masculine, by the way. Also feeling trapped in the mundane, so in your daily life, daily hustle, and being a skeptic, okay? And I notice a lot of times when men are operating from these wounded masculine traits, they're also operating from the wounded feminine traits as well. And this is why a man that's stuck within this energy is also going to be very passive aggressive. He's going to have a lack of direction. He's not going to be able to pursue a woman. He's not going to be able to lead a woman into safety because he doesn't feel safe within himself. So that's why he cannot create a safe container for the feminine energy. Now, the divine masculine, it's basically about risk-taking, assertiveness, action-oriented, discipline, boundaries, confidence, objectivity, logic, and analysis. It's a warrior of the heart. The divine masculine truly follows his heart. He doesn't listen to his mind, his ego. He follows his heart, and then basically his heart shows him the way. His higher self shows him the way, and then he takes action towards this. He has a plan. He executes the plan. It's about the yang energy, survival. When I say survival, I don't mean survival mode. It's more about He's the type of man who could be thrown basically in nature and he would know how to survive. That's what it means. He's all about giving. He knows how to recharge his own batteries himself, so he doesn't need the feminine to give him emotional comfort that he didn't get from his mother. He healed the mother wound, and so because of that, he's in the position where he can give and give and give and give, and he never feels depleted because he knows his boundaries and he knows when he has to sit down and replenish his energy, basically. The divine masculine also is about initiating, right? So initiating anything, but especially in a conscious relationship, he's the one initiating the relationship. He's all about structure, logic, having a spiritual routine as well. He's all about stillness, right? Meditation is a very masculine practice. He's very present, especially if he's in a conscious relationship and the feminine in front of him is going through some sort of emotional, issue. He knows how to practice, listening without trying to find a solution or make her stop. Basically, he can just sit still like a tree, okay? And he just listens to her and he creates this really comforting and safe space for her to express her emotions. He's all about the mind, but when I say the mind, what I mean is not about the ego, but he's really practical. The masculine energy is very practical. This is something that women also have, but in general, men have a lot more because the way their brain operates, everything is very linear and very logic. So when we can work together, it's the heroes gamos. It's the sacred marriage. That's how we create life. The divine masculine is also about individuality and light. And usually the dark masculine is more about community. So that's his aspect where he steps out of the lone wolf energy and he really gets into like building and creating his own community or joining one. So when we talk about pharaohs, warlords, Romans, and kings, these are the men, for the most part, not all of them, but they would usually go through this process of initiation through the sacred whore, the sacred goddess, the great goddess, however you want to call her, the dark mother. But these men would be prepared since their childhood. It wasn't random. Like, it wasn't just like, hey, do you want to be a king tomorrow? Like, it was an entire process. People would look at their birth charts so they would know their life purpose. Like, it was like a very deep thing. And everything was connected with nature. But yeah, all these men would go through these initiations, through mystery school as well. That's why we created ours. And so this is what these men were embodying. They were embodying the integration of the dark masculine with the divine masculine, the light one, the light aspect, okay? So the dark masculine is really about truth. He's about love and freedom and protection. That's the role of a king and a pharaoh. They had to protect not only the kingdom, but they had to protect specifically the queen and the population, people that were living within the kingdom. Like, that was actually a promise. And the pharaohs, and I'm getting chills just saying that. I feel like I'm channeling right now. Pharaohs made a vow to protect their kingdom with their life. If they had to die at some point with their dignity and integrity, they would do it. And that's why being a king and being a pharaoh is not for everybody. You can embody this energy within your daily life, right? But this energy requires sacrifices, especially in our society. If a man wants to step into this energy, obviously he needs balance because he needs to also have this slight masculine because, it can get really intense at some point, especially when you get into the shadow work phase. Like you're getting into your core wound. So obviously you want to be able to balance this energy with the light masculine as well, to be able to yeah, to just create balance and to make sure that you're moving forward, basically. But yeah, this type of energy has been suppressed because when a man step into this type of energy, he becomes a protector. He becomes a protector of nature, a protector of women and children. And obviously the society that that we're living in right now really thrives on women and children not being protected. So they're keeping men in this like wounded little boy consciousness, right? Men don't know that they're within this type of energy, but this is what it is. If you're at a job that you hate and you feel stuck and your wife is emasculating you, you're stuck within this boy consciousness. And the first phase of healing is validation. You need to accept that this is where you are in your life, and then you can move forward, right? If you have a business that you hate, that you're a slave to, then you have to accept it. You have to validate it, and then you can move into transcendence. Then you can move into expansion. Then you can move into your heart and really clear. And sometimes you have to make hard decisions. So the healing process usually starts with the any type of white tantra. And we start with the lower chakras. We want to work with the root because all these things usually happen within our childhood. So the root is all about childhood, the root, like the basis of life. So if there's any type of like inner child 3D program that's running in there in the subconscious, that's where we clear it. And once we clear that, we can clear the sacral center, which is all about expression. The dark masculine doesn't give a fuck about what other people think. He doesn't give a fuck about not being loved or liked by other people. So obviously, it's hard for him to just have like a 9-to-5 job because we know, like, if you have a 9-to-5, depending on where you're working, but in general, if you're working for someone, you have to shut your mouth and you have to sit there and you have to shove a stick in your ass and say, yes, thank you, please. That's what it is. That's what a 9-to-5 is. You sit there and someone gives you a fucking to-do list and you're like, yes, you're being submissive. The dark masculine doesn't submit. He bows to the dark feminine, but that's different. That's not submission. And then once we move to the solar plexus, that's when we move into action. Because that's what the masculine energy is. It's all about action, taking clear consistency, anything that's, about executing, taking action. All right. So I just got like so passionate about this. I feel like there's a lack, to be honest with you. I feel like that's where the passion comes from. I can feel it in my heart. It's like there's this need for this dark masculine energy in our society. And it's coming up. It's coming up because as the dark feminine is rising, the dark masculine is also being awakened as well. So, I feel like the dark masculine is a bit behind than the dark feminine, but that's how it's always been. The dark feminine is literally directly connected to the dark mother. So that's why she got awakened first, and then the dark masculine gets awakened second. So within the Hathor Mystery School, we have a course called The Intimate Warrior. And that's the specific ritual that the kings go through. Tantric kingship by high priestess. Right? So we have 3 pillars inside the Hathor Mystery School, and that's why we're different. We have the knowledge, the ritual, and the routine. Most online schools just give you the knowledge, or sometimes it's only the ritual, but the ritual really works through the subconscious, but then you have to anchor this new frequency with a spiritual routine. Because clearing your chakra system can take a day. It's really quick. But once you get back into your daily life, your daily routine that is not aligned with your heart, then you're going to get sucked back into whatever program you were in. So having a routine is really important. And we use the divine protocol that was within the Hathor Mystery School that's been channeled, that you cannot find anywhere else. And basically what we do within the Intimate Warrior course, we clear your vessel, we ground your root, we ground your, I can't even say that word on YouTube, but your COCK within the ground, within the center of the earth. And then once we've cleared your vessel, that's when we get your Kundalini activated. We do things in the right order. We use the divine order. We don't just open your third eye so you know where we are right now, and then boom, you get sucked into these all these freaking spiritual traps that we have right now, all these psyops. That's how you get people psyop, when they have their third eye open, but they're not grounded. So, again, got so passionate about this. So you can follow me on social media, by the way. I'm very active, especially on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next transmission and free training. Bye.